Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. What I will add, I will not say a lot about myself, unfortunately, but in fact, for many years, I was civil servant, government representative to many international bodies, OECD, European Commission Working Group, etc. Also, I'm an external expert at research executive agency. Since 1st February this year, I moved to EdTech Foundation. So now I'm trying to help our companies to improve their policy on schools and digitalization, but also to expand abroad. So please, I will try to first share my presentation with you. I hope that it's visible now.
That's correct.
In full screen mode.
Yep.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I will start with the quote of Charles Darwin that it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. And this is something that we all have to keep in mind, that if we are government representative or market specialist, we still should be ready for the future. I will start with give you some crucial information about our educational system in Poland. So we have in total 25 approximately 1,000 schools with more than 700,000 teachers, including those from preschool education. So as you may see here, there are some detailed numbers how it looks on every stage of every level of education. We are quite successful, and comparing Poland and its education in early 90s and now, it's really a big difference. I mean, maybe when you will enter some school and a class, particular class, you will not maybe see so many differences. Even 100 years ago, the classrooms in general, they look all the same. There are some equipment inside, and of course, usually students are sitting in rows. But apart of that, many things have already changed. So, of course, there are some support factors like modernization of the economy and economic growth, aspiration of our students and parents, expansion of higher education. Like now, all our teachers, they have higher education diploma. So they at least graduated from one topic, but many of them, they've already finalized their postgraduate courses and so on. There are also some policy interventions already implemented, like school autonomy, central examinations with its standardization, improving qualification of teachers. Lots of projects already have been implemented. Salary increases, of course, too, and completely brand new core curriculum, more focusing on this all crucial how to say that issues that usually European Commission also has implemented from for the digital agenda. You can see this positive trend. There are results from PISA, one of the most well-known research. It's OECD research, and you can see in this crucial areas that we perform quite better now. We are performing than at the beginning of this century, millennium. Our schools are quite well equipped, and school, and also what is important for distance learning, children, they have equipment that they can use for the school homework as well. So you can see that we are quite on top of this in this table, that it stems from fact that, of course, there's lots of investments and particularly children and their parents are aware that if they will buy something, some digital equipment, that it can be used and it will be used on daily basis in school. We have quite a big, let's say, potential, because as you may see, this is the Hall of Fame International Olympiad of Informatics, and with Poland on third position. This is statistics for many years. So basically, what we are really care of is digital competences, and it's already 10 years that we are improving these programs. As you may see, there is some particular change in our core curriculum. So it's completely new approach. Programming is already present at first grade. For all K-12 classes are the programming and coding is taught in schools. Robotics, visual programming, 3D modeling, and of course compliance with laws and safety rules, which is one of the most important part of this approach. We used to think about many programs, many like e-materials and platforms and everything, but it cannot be used if the internet is not provided, of course. So we can say now that all Polish schools now have efficient broadband access to the internet. Of course, during pandemia, it was it was mostly not used because even teachers they stay at home. But we had situation at the beginning of 2016 that households, they had better internet connection than particular average school. So now it has changed completely. So as you may see, now the old schools in Poland, they have at least 100 megabytes per second. There are many other programs and projects that follow that with quite lots of investments here. You see some of them. I will not go into details with all these projects, but for instance, e-materials for schools, that they are open source materials. You can also use it, modify it on the website with e-textbooks as well, are available free of charge, of course, for every and each student in Poland. but it's not maybe I show only the bright side of of the moon. You can see this is something, I hope that it will be also visible. The reaction of Polish students for the announcement of the Prime Minister about the lockdown in schools. I hope that it will be visible and you will hear as well. Okay, so as you may see, the students were very happy that the schools will go to close, that the government, what the government done. I hope that you've seen that. Just please note if you've seen that.
Yeah, we've seen it. We've seen it. Thank you, Rafał. Yeah.
Okay, so that means that not everything is, you know, in schools already as we want. And in fact, also there are results from OECD research that shows that Polish students are not very happy with their schools, so they don't like going there. So there's still lots of work to be done. Let me just see. Okay, I'll try to put that again to this full screen modes. Okay, and what is very important, of course, is that to change that situation, we need to have closer cooperation between school owners. In Poland, there are the local governments owning schools, with, of course, government that provides some extra funds for and filling the gaps in terms of supplying schools with equipment and teacher training programs. Of course, other institutions as NGOs, for instance, this all movement towards implementing programming into schools, it came from NGOs mostly work and academics. So they started this process, and the others, they joined that. You see that if the government gave some legal framework, then there is like demand for some tools and some services to fulfill core curriculum. So that, for instance, the companies can follow that. Yes, so this is good example of this kind of relations between different sectors, the public, private, and as well as self-government. So that's why we've succeeded with that, and it's already present in schools. When we will ask what the future brings, for sure we can expect that there will be it's already rapidly development of artificial intelligence and tools based on that, virtual reality, augmented reality. What we need is to have competence for analyzing data. Of course, new machines, faster processors, robotics, they are all more and more present also in schools, vocational or general, but they are coming in big numbers into schools. Green Deal, smart cities, biotechnology, we all need to prepare our schools for that. So with distance learning, it's a funny thing because we were tired about that quite for the last months. It was only almost 1 year that students spent in their homes. But when we ask even teachers, they want to keep some form of this kind of learning. So they said that to keep this hybrid model may be much more efficient than to go completely offline again. So that was quite interesting because we expected that they are all, tired with this kind of teaching, but they used to it and they learn a lot about new possibilities, new services that are available. So of course, the model of learning when with the big, migration, people are changing their place many times during their life, but also they can go from one place to another with their computers now. So it gives lots of opportunities. They can go for any course or study abroad they want, and it also will be for sure something that will be visible and present in the future. This is also very important thing that it's not the best educational system is not the one that has the biggest budget and funds that can spend. If so, like Luxembourg or Emirates would be the best educational system in the world. Comparing to, for instance, teacher's salary in Luxembourg and in Poland, there are like 5 or even 6 more bigger. So it's not, it's most important thing how we spend these funds and for what, than how much we can spend. Of course, lifelong learning, teachers are aware now even most than before that they need to develop their competences, especially digital competences. Cooperation, this is something that really matter on modern market, and at the same time we need to know why we are learning and for what we are learning. So the student advocacy is also here very important. So they will all know why and what should be taught in school. And we now we can all see that this kind of model of learning and approach we knew that used to be in schools. It should belong to the past. We now expect that we need not the transmission of knowledge, but rather a collaborative model and also relationship building in the school ecosystem and school environment is something that is much more in post-industrial age important than we all know from 19th century and even 20th century. So this is something that it's happened, but what we see from the company perspective is that there is still a lack of specialists that are already to work in this new brand new market as we have now. Class size has little effect on learning outcomes. Also the time spent at school. Like in Finland, children are not spent many hours comparing to Poland, for instance, but still the educational outcomes in PISA research is quite impressive. Of course, there are some other factors that you can see here that are really important. And for instance, there was very well-known research of Australian research that proved, Mr. Hyati, that proved that sense of responsibility for their own educational choices of students is something that is crucial, and it's easier when you can learn, you know, when you are playing football, you see that you can, you know, that you perform better and better. It's different when you are learning, I don't know, biology or something. So you cannot see, you know, the link between what you are trying to learn with what you will need in future. But this is important to give the right message to the students. And also the consortium for school networking. I'm a part of the advisory board of this consortium based in United States. Every year issues the report with top hardless accelerators and tech enablers. And you can see that for the 2021, what is important and what can enhance these students and teachers for the digital change in schools. But there are also many obstacles and barriers that and problems that we have to solve. So you may see that digital collaboration environments and broadband access to the internet, as well as blended learning tools, they are top tech enables. And it's worth to add that people who are working on this report, they meet for all year. So the discussion that many people are involved in that. There are experts from United States and other countries as well. They work on this, and this is like conclusion of their work that took at least half a year. So you can see the results of that work here. And maybe to see what future will bring to us, we need to see what children are doing now. So we can expect based on that what we'll need in the future to bring their attention and what they used to do and how they behave. You may see that the average time that they spend per day, if you were comparing data from the previous years, you will see that it's more and more time that they spend online. And unfortunately, the time that they spent when they for the leisure time and also to rest is is shorter than it used to be. And also, when we will go into details, what are these daily online activities? There are results from UKID's online research. You may see that mostly children, and it's not very different. There's not many differences between the countries. They watched video clips. So maybe when we are thinking about the methods and I mean pedagogic approach, we need to use that tools as well. Maybe this all YouTubers, for instance, they have quite a big impact on children behavior. Now in Poland we had a campaign. One or two YouTubers, they launched some program and they asked children to buy ice cream. Of course, they were ice cream produced by one company. So it was almost the next day, you know, it was not possible to get this ice cream in the markets. And of course, the price was quite high, and it's getting higher still. So there are some factors that we should take into consideration when we are thinking about the future of education. We should focus on children behavior and their expectations too. And finally, I can recommend you to go to the website with my foundation, and our partners are there. You can see the very good examples of tools, services that are provided by Polish companies. Some of them you probably already know, but maybe you are not linked it to directly to Poland, like Brandly or other, of course, CD Projekt or other ones that are quite successful also abroad. So now it's time for questions, and I will try to answer and address all the questions. So we are just, I think, on time.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rafał, for giving us an insight in what's happening in your country with regard to innovation in education at the one hand, and at the other hand, what the government is doing and the relation with companies as well. I think that that was a very nice story. I'm just looking at who is raising his or her hand. Yes, of course, Milena.
I cannot not have questions. But I'll start with a very general one. So about EdTech sector for entrepreneurs, because you mentioned all the companies at the end that we can have a look at on the EdTech Poland website. But I'm wondering, first, do you think that the Polish EdTech market has a potential for other EdTech entrepreneurs, for example, from abroad? And what's the situation of the EdTech markets from the perspective of entrepreneurs and companies?
Of course, we are also a part of EdTech Alliance, European Alliance, and we can see in Poland there is approximately 50 companies, EdTech companies that are I mean, the Polish companies. There are, I mean, in terms of, it's only that, you know, competition is a good thing. So all companies from abroad are most welcome. There are some all markets, they have some specific, I mean, there are specific environment, like in Poland, teachers are expecting different things than probably in Spain or in other countries. So it's good always to examine, to check that before we are going to specific market with our products. But basically we have, of course, very big companies like Microsoft, Intel, and another big consortium, like very well known in all countries, and they are very strong. And so we are not really helping them because they all they know what to do, and they are like they are giant. But we are more focusing on the small companies, startups that we want to help, and especially to expand abroad. In terms of also what the government is doing, its role is to give some minimum level of this infrastructure and services that may be used in school. That means this internet broadband, of course, connection, as well as some immaterial platforms that like during the COVID pandemic, it was very important, and we are really proud that we were ready with that, because we used to develop this and improve the services before. And teachers, they didn't want to use that, but during pandemic, they appreciate that they have something that they can use. So that shows that in some terms, the government play also important role. Of course, the government is not developing anything alone. It's all the public procurement, so all the companies also from abroad are welcome to provide their services. Yeah? But it's also.
But is it easy? Because you mentioned that there are these giants that know what they are doing, and from what I know, but correct me if I'm wrong, in Poland it's very difficult to actually enter with the product that it's not well recognized, like Microsoft, because the whole Warsaw is using Microsoft Teams sponsored by government. And so if I have a product that I'm sure it will be great, I analyze the market, I know that teachers are responding well, they would like to use it, what do I do? How can I enter there? And I mean, everybody is welcome, but in practice, how does it work?
No, you have, of course, Google, Amazon, and other companies that they are providing their own services. And it's not the case that you need to, instead of using Teams or Zoom, you will get a chance to replace that, because this is something that I don't think that it's possible right now and for the upcoming years. But with small companies, if they are match the expectations and they can respond for some kind of special needs of schools, then it's much easier. If in terms of programming, for instance, there were not so many like games based, this kind of games-based learning tools that were present in Poland. So even small companies with their brilliant products, they could, take advantage from that situation. Because of course you have, Microsoft Office and another tools that, in fact, all schools, almost all schools are using. But then when you need something that, for instance, for smaller children, that not only go online as an online tool, but will also when they are learning how to code, if you have some another like board games or something, is still something that can be really attractive to schools. And there are some events, of course. There's a few events during the year when you can present your products. There are some also association like school principal association or teachers association that also can be interested in this kind of products. So there is many ways to reach schools. Also, this teacher training offices, and institutions that on daily basis are deal with teachers. They can also give them good examples, and because they also for their self development, they are going to such places, they are visiting such places. So for instance, this way is also possible to give this kind of examples. But it's always, you have distributors with their chain, in each country, so it's also easier to talk with them. And if you are company from abroad, and social media and campaigns, it all depends on the budget, that you can spend on that.
Talking about budget, can I add a question here, Milena, or is that okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because at a certain point, Rafał, in your presentation, you were saying something which I find very wise words. You said it's not important how much you spend, but it's more important how you spend the money. And that triggered something with me, because in another slide you were showing the amount of money that I think it was the Polish government was spending on different aspects of EdTech and so on. And if I remember well, I did a quick how should I say, reshuffling of the costs, but I think that there was about 250 million euros spent on infrastructure and materials, while at the other hand there was only, between brackets, only 50 million spent on skills development of the teachers. And so and that slide came first. So I was already making a note here and asking the question, isn't that a big unbalance? 250 million going to infrastructure and materials, while at the other hand, I think the most important thing is skills development, professionalization of the teachers, and it's only 1/5 of the total budget that is spent to that aspect. And then later on you said, yeah, but it's not important how much money you spend. It's more important how do you spend it. So I was just thinking, I'm just asking the question. What do you think? Am I right or am I wrong with my?
I mean, you are totally right, but I was giving examples of the projects. Mm-hmm. So that means, of course, for teacher training, you have like in total budget, or the part of the budget that government gives to the school owners, the part of this money is reserved for the teacher self-development, so this kind of money are going directly to these teacher training centers, when they can choose the module that they want to learn, but this $15 million was spent on particular project, and of course it only was reserved for 70,000 teachers. So this is just one of the projects that, and it was all from EU funds. That's also important. So it was not the regular, budget of the state, but it came from the European Union. But in fact, what's happened here is that with the lack of the proper infrastructure in schools, the biggest amount went to this for this kind of needs, to fill these gaps, and even if you don't have this broadband connection, which is quite costly, this project is almost like 500 or even more, 500 millions euro. Then if you even teach students, how to use e-materials, it's not efficient approach. So that's why maybe I hope that in upcoming years it will be more balanced, okay. Because already infrastructure it exists, so now we can more focus on but from the other hand, when we will look at this recovery fund and the billions of euros that will come from European Commission, then you will see that it's still much more focusing on infrastructure in local governments, for internet for the household and so on, than to develop competences of teachers. Maybe more the society as a whole, but not particular. It's not going, to teachers. And teachers, they used to have lots of training for many projects. NGOs, everyone are knocking to their doors and ask them to take part in this, because those are organizations that make profits from that, not the teacher who needs to go from one, training to another. So it's also problematic.
Yeah. One of the reasons I'm asking is we also see here in Flanders something similar happening if we are not careful. I mean, the Minister of Education is in, like you said, recovery funds, and so spending or wants to spend a lot of money in the infrastructure at school, especially the buildings, because we have rather old-fashioned buildings for education schools, and so a major renovation needs to be done. And so, politicians are politicians, so they want something tangible, something that you could show off with. And if the money goes to a very nice building, then that's something. And if he then can open the building and
exactly.
a new building, so that's something that they love to do. While at the other hand, I think what we really need when it comes to education, teaching and learning, and if we talk about innovation, then it's probably the way that we are teaching and learning, and that is less tangible, less visible, but far more important, I think.
But still, when to get to the next level of professional professional development, yes, you need to provide and to prove that you improve your digital skill, and it's in all level of professional development in Polish schools. But then what you are doing is you are showing certificates, from this kind of workshops or some conference or something. And it doesn't mean that you have really, that you really know how to teach in terms of new pedagogical methods. And also when you supply schools with like interactive monitors, they can use it as a projector, to play some movie, and that's all. It doesn't mean that they already will get some skills. And it's tricky because the owners of schools, they just like to do what you've said. So it's easier for the major to open a new school or even the road to school than to invest in skills of teachers.
Yeah.
Because it's not visible, and he will lost polls
Yeah.
if he will do so.
But I think it's a balance we have to find. Also, the society in general, I think, if they see that the tax money is going to something which is good, good schools, for instance, then they will probably buy it. It's more difficult for the society in general to see that the tax money is spent in professionalization of teachers. Although, yeah, maybe if the kids would, well, like the video that you showed, now the kids were happy that schools were closed, but maybe tax money is much better spent if the kids would applaud when they say, yeah, good teachers we have, let's go to school. But okay, I'm maybe much... Yes. I'm a bit biased as a teacher myself.
Yes, but expectations of parents are that schools will prepare their children to pass the test to get to the next level of education. Yes, and not in fact this is not. The most important thing for children to be happy. Of course, all parents, they want their children to be, happy, and they don't like to kick out, child from home, but if to school, but they prefer if he or she really likes to go to school. But as long as we will have this all tests and all another in the system, this kind of model that rather focusing on different things than we call it
you can say it in Polish. Milena can translate.
Dobrostan. Polish is the
well-being.
Well-being. Okay, yeah, exactly. We can say it. So okay, of students, then it will not happen fast. I mean, this change will not happen.
Okay, thank you.